When I look at kind of the state of racial America right now, one of the things that's happened even in my lifetime, and I'm still relatively young, I'm 40, and so, even in the course of my lifetime, I feel like the sort of apex of racial harmony in the country was approximately 2007, 2008. And you can see this in the polling data, that about 2008, there starts to be a slight decrease in sort of how Americans are feeling about race, and then it just dives off the table in 2014. In 2013, 2014, it just falls completely off the table. You opposed Barack Obama for president in 2008. I did also. When I read Dreams from My Father, on an ideological level, it seemed to me that he was arguing for a pretty Marxist materialist view of the world, that the reason that people do bad things is because of wealth inequality. That he has a section in the introduction to Dreams from My Father that I still cite as, I think, one of the most damaging things that he ever said that nobody ever noticed, where he says that, when I see the despair in, whether it's in Jakarta, Indonesia, or whether I see it in young dispossessed terrorists, basically, in the Middle East, or whether I see it in the south side of Chicago, it's always coming from the same sort of feeling of material dispossession. I thought, that's a bizarre argument. The notion that Black Americans in the south side of Chicago are committing terror acts in the same way as, say, a radical young Muslim who's 18 living in the Gaza Strip or something. First of all, lumping all that together in sort of this Marxist materialist way is bizarre. But it then led to him creating, in 2012, in that campaign, a sort of coalition of the dispossessed. And we're still seeing that politics played forward today. I've made the argument that basically 2012 broke the country, and we're all living in the after effects of 2012. That Barack Obama was elected by a large margin in 2008 on the promise that he would be a post-racial president, that he and his very person, by uniting Black and white, was going to move America beyond the key issue of division in the United States, that of race. And now we were going to be one America, not white America and Black America, just America, not red America and blue America, right? That whole shtick. And then it turns out in 2012, when he was a pretty unpopular president, he decided to start saying things like, Trayvon could have been my son, and Henry Louis Gates, the officer, acted stupidly. And he started pretty obviously pandering to particular racial constituencies, not just Black Americans. He also started making overtures to Latino Americans with policies on illegal immigration. And it was basically, I'm going to cobble together this coalition of non-white Americans and college-educated white liberal women, and that will be the winning coalition from here on in. And when he actually lost votes between 2008 and 12, and then he won the presidency over the most milquetoast human being ever to run for president, Mitt Romney, characterizing him as a vicious racist in the process, that actually set up this bizarre nether region we've been inheriting politically since 2012, in which Democrats believe that they can just get out the racial base by pandering over and over. And Republicans, in response, have said, okay, fine, well, if you're going to turn white people into a racial constituency, then I guess they're a racial constituency now. And so you have this really bad racial dynamic that was set up, in fact, by a politician who was afraid of losing re-election.
Okay, that was a mouthful.
Yeah, it was.
Let me see what I think about that. 2012 is the hinge year. Well, it was Trayvon Martin, and you're right. He did say if I had a son, he'd look like Trayvon. And Eric Holder was there whispering in his ear, and so was Michelle and all these other things. He wasn't what looked like it could have been a more challenging re-election campaign than it turned out to be. But I agree about milquetoast Mitt Romney. So a strategy that the Democrats have doubled down on. I don't know if Biden's craven, obscene kind of pandering to the Black vote with this very insulting and infuriating patronization and this dwelling on you can't make it in America 10 times better. You had to be 10, the Ku Klux Klan is coming to get you, and I'm the only thing that'll save you from it. Bullshit. I mean, and maybe it does have its origins in 2012. I never really thought about that. So my take on Obama was, what's the point of having a Black president if he doesn't tell the country the truth about race? You have an opportunity, to really move the needle on race. And actually, race relations get worse, not better, after he serves. And my account for that was, I never thought about the 2012 effect that you're talking about. My account for that was more forward-looking. It was like, he's only 60 or 58 or whatever he is when he leaves the presidency. He's going to be ex-president a lot longer than he was president, and he's got a kind of reputational management problem. He can't be that guy who pulled the cover off of the fraud, which is the racial narrative of white supremacy and structural racism, when the real story is a failure to seize opportunity opened up historically at the end of the 20th century and to take advantage of the possibilities of developing, acquiring, accumulating, building, and achieving on the part of African Americans. I mean, yeah. I mean, look at this cops. I'm sorry, I don't mean to digress, but look at this cops and young black men, cops killing young black men. I mean, what an absurd narrative. When the real violence on the streets of America today is these miscreants and these THUGS running around with automatic weapons, firing them aimlessly out of automobiles at their gang rivals and stuff like that. I mean, and you don't have any engagement with that problem. Instead, you convert it into a white domination problem. So that's the kind of truth that a black president needed to pull the covers off of. And Obama was as far away from doing that as you could possibly be. Al Sharpton, he brings Al Sharpton into his White House as an ambassador to Black America. He has contempt for the historic responsibility which was bequeathed to him when he was elected president to change the conversation on race in this country. He could have done it, and he failed to do it.